greyhounds because they're like big couch potatoes. They are affectionate but not needy. They are lazy but they get bursts of energy. I like to take long walks, and these dogs, I came to find out, they don't need to go jogging. They don't need to go running on the beach. They don't need to go for long, wild, rugged hikes in the mountains. They do love just laying on the couch with me and watching TV or me while I'm reading. They're at my side, but it never feels like a clingy type of personality, and that's always been really appealing to me because it's been such a joy. My idea of having to take greyhounds on long walks, I would pick up the leash and he would look at me from the sofa as if to say, have a good time, let me know when you're home, I'll be here, oh, don't wake me if I'm napping. So the adjustment was really easy, surprisingly so from my point of view. Bringing Blitz home that first day was how he jumped on my sofa and he was so happy to be in home, and he just stretched his long body the full length of that sofa and took a big sigh and looked at me with this look of such pleasure, such happiness, saying, yeah, I'm home.
Greyhounds make amazing pets. First of all, they come to you, and they're pretty much usually already potty trained because they're crate trained at the track, so they are easy to manage that way. And they don't do a lot of things that a lot of other dog breeds do. Like they don't dig that much, they don't bark, they don't do a whole lot of other behavioral issues that you have with other dogs. So you get them, they're pretty much already potty trained, and you just show them where their bed is and take it from there. Genetically, going back to their roots, this is the oldest purebred dog that we found, with arrows and everything like that. So just from day one, they have been hunters and sprinters, and they love to run. So when you get a dog in the racing industry, then they can actually reward you. It's even more deeply ingrained than their natural genetic desire to do. The best training technique for greyhounds is using positive reinforcement. I mean, I believe the best training technique for all dogs is using science and learning theory and educated, humane, positive methods. Some dogs are more mutable than others. For example, a Labrador or a Retriever, they're like, what do you want? I'll do anything you want. Whereas a Greyhound's just going to stand there and be like, what do you want? So you really have to make sure there's motivation and fun, and sometimes they'll run for you, as any other technique that was mentioned. That's a great question. What you have to do as a Greyhound owners, you have to be really responsible about your front door. Because they are trained, front doors are like starting gates to them. So they're trained, these are retired racing dogs, so they have been in the slots to race, and so they will kind of generalize that same sprinting behavior right out your front door if you're not watching what you're doing. So you always want to make sure that you have maybe a system where there's an extra fence. You also do some training with your dog on impulse control, teach him to stay at the front door, teach him to wait, but you never leave it to chance with a dog that's capable of going 45 miles an hour. So we never just open the front door and nobody's holding the dog, or you train the dog to go to a spot when the doorbell rings.
deal because many believe that the greyhounds aren't treated very well. It's a sport that's all about the gambling, and the dogs tend to be a byproduct of the industry. So once they're no longer of use, they need to be disposed of. And some people think that it's okay to race them because they may have an agenda with regard to the gambling, or there are groups, rescue groups, that actually feel like they're afraid to speak out because they feel they won't be able to get dogs if they badmouth the industry. But awareness has creeped into the situation, and a lot of people are now finding out that they aren't well cared for, and some people think, oh, they love to race, so it's okay. All dogs love to run, but that's no reason to keep them in a cage. It can be kind of challenging. The harder parts would be that it's 24/7. It's just all the time. And sometimes you have to just drop everything you're doing for whatever you plan that day, because you have to arrange for getting a dog, which can sometimes be a little convoluted, or somebody is sick or whatnot, and you have to take them to the vet. But it's exceedingly rewarding because you get to see these guys come in not feeling well, not feeling much of anything sometimes, kind of shut down often, and you see them blossom, you see them learn things, you see them actually develop a personality. I mean, they literally sometimes look at you like, look what I can do. Wow. And you literally see a personality develop that they didn't know they had, which is kind of amazing. And then to see them move into an adoptive home, and sometimes we get to see them further on down the line and see how they're doing and how happy they are and how happy their families are. I mean, these people, they're just so thankful, which I find strange that somebody's thanking me for what I'm doing, but because it is so rewarding. But sometimes people they're so grateful, and then of course they have to do more. But that's the most rewarding part, is seeing these guys blossom and seeing how their lives change and how they change people's lives. The day-to-day happenings around here with regard to the greyhounds are we feed twice a day, which takes a fair amount of time because we do give supplements in addition to feeding a good food. And then sometimes people have medications, dogs have medications and stuff that need to be administered. And then there's just the logistics of living with so many dogs. It's a little bit like boot camp. We're in, we're out, we're doing this, let's go, 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 go. Everybody sleeps in the bedroom with us at night, which is probably kind of weird, but we do have some crates in there, and then dog beds, so everybody has a dog bed, everybody has a crate. And they seem to really like that. They seem to be excited to go to bed at night for some reason. During the day, it's mostly potty breaks, playtime for the younger ones, house training. If somebody's new and just getting acclimated, they will be crated for parts of the day as we get them situated and acclimated. And then beyond that, it's walk club, vet appointments, people come over to meet dogs. All those things help with socializing, get them used to people, get them used to affection, other dogs, just the world at large. With regard to what happens to the dogs when they stop racing, there once was a time back in the 80s, or up until the 80s, when the dogs were killed. They were just killed. They would keep some for breeding, and there were much more that were bred back then. And they were disposed of. Nobody knew about them as pets, and late 80s people started figuring out that they actually make fabulous pets, and they're just darling, and they're quite addictive actually. And So at that point, rescue groups started popping up, and more over the years have been rescued. As the industry declines, there are fewer bred, so there are fewer coming off the tracks. There have been tracks closing in the last several years, which is all great news for these guys. And because of that, a greater percentage is going into rescue. But there are still dogs who are killed, and there are dogs who are sold to research. But the majority, at this point, are coming into rescues and finding homes, which is wonderful. As word's gotten out that they're not hyper and they don't need a huge yard and tons of exercise, this is pretty much how they operate right here. So, we're hoping that one of these days that we won't have to be doing this at all, that the industry will cease to exist. But up until then, we're still plugging away, trying to find homes for the little monkeys. The dogs are generally retired when they are, they're sort of a mandatory retirement at age 5. They start racing at about a year and a half old, and they are no longer needed if they become too slow or they become injured. So the majority of them don't actually make it to a retirement age of 5. Generally, the dogs we're seeing coming in will get flunkies who are still a year and a half old. We'll get generally 2- and 3-year-old dogs who just weren't quick enough, just weren't interested enough, were playing games on the track and not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and then we get the injured ones as well. We generally aren't told, unless there's a major injury, we have to sort of look and see, does it look like this dog has some sort of injury or problem? Because we just get the dogs and we don't really know too much about them generally. With regard to getting the greyhounds ready for adoption, for the most part, we're starting out with dogs who are a bit of a blank slate. They have no experience with the outside world. They don't know stairs. They don't know mirrors. They don't know babies, small children sometimes. Some have probably never seen grass. We've had a few that seem a little strange about the grass at first. So our job is to get them acclimated to the world that we are living in, find out about their personalities, get them acclimated to a household situation so they're potty trained and not climbing all over counters, and behaving like good citizens. In that process, we get to see their personalities emerge. They get to see their personalities emerge. Oftentimes, they have no idea what their personalities are going to be like. And we'll see some pretty amazing stuff where dog will do something and then look at you like, oh my gosh, look what I just did. Can you believe that? and it'll be something silly, like jumping in the car. During this time, we're getting all their medical cared for and putting some weight on them. The amount of time it takes for a dog to get adopted varies quite a bit. Some are here for just a few weeks while we're getting medical fixed up, and then others are here for, I think the longest we had a dog was for 1 week shy of 2 years. And he got the most fabulous home, and we get emails from his parents all the time. Sometimes you see a dog, and you have a dog for a while, and they just aren't getting adopted. They're just not, they seem okay here, and they're doing pretty good here. But all of a sudden, at some point, they kind of click, and then that's when people are wanting them for some reason. And it might be a few months down the road or a year down the road, and then they'll get the home that they're been waiting for, I guess. But it's wonderful to see them come, completely out of their shells or totally blossom when they get into a new home, because oftentimes we do get to see them at some point afterward, and to see how they are so proud of themselves and how proud of how they're doing and how happy their families are, and how their families' lives have changed in addition to the dog's life. In terms of acclimation from track life to home life, it's usually a pretty easy transition, amazingly enough. I mean, we're not talking about a puppy that's coming into a home. We're talking about a dog who's grown up, been raised, and trained to do this very specific thing. And then beyond that, they pretty much live in a vacuum. They live in a little cage. They get out to go to the bathroom a few times a day. They race maybe once or twice a week. And that's it, pretty much. And what we're doing when they come to us, because they are so lazy, people think they're just going to be running around all the time. And they really aren't, because they do spend so much time sedate and not doing anything. They're used to that. So for the most part, that's what they do. They have no stamina. They are very, very short distance sprinters. Average race is about 30 seconds. And it's maybe a little over a quarter of a mile. And that's it. So you might have a dog who rips around in the yard for a little bit, then has to take a 4-hour nap. Or you might have a slightly older dog who goes for a 15-minute walk and then has to take a 4-hour nap. It's really because of the lack of consistent energy and prolonged energy. That's what makes them so easy. They're not like a Jack Russell. If you tried to take a Jack Russell and had them race and then sit in a cage the rest of the time, they'd go bonkers. But these guys, they do it so good. They do it so good. Yes, they do. Okay, greyhounds are very different from other dogs physically. They have very little body fat, so they don't control their temperature real well. They get hot and cold easily. So they are predominantly indoor dogs. They don't spend a lot of time outside, and they should never be allowed off leash unless they're in a fenced area, because they can get too far too fast. As far as blood work and whatnot, they are also different. They have a higher red cell count and a lower white cell count. They have a larger heart than other dogs. They are physiologically quite a bit different, and it's all because of how they run. And in the average 30-second race, for instance, they will pump all of the blood through their heart 5 times. And they are the only dog with a double suspension gait, where all 4 feet are off the ground when they're sort of extended, and then when their legs are together, their feet are also off the ground. There are no other breeds that do that, really. And it's all about the running fast. It's that's what they're bred and then raised in the industry to do, specifically that. And that's it. We find that their looks vary a lot because they're not bred into sort of a show or AKC type of situation where people are looking at looks. They're bred for speed. So we get wonky ears, we get little tiny girls, we get big giant boys. They don't care about color. Personalities vary a lot with these guys, which is pretty funny. But their temperaments are universally very sweet, very sensitive, and very silly. Very silly? Yeah, very silly. Many people who start looking at greyhounds or who come to the meet and greets and have never seen a greyhound before, they are very surprised at how easy these guys are to acclimate to a family and to live with. They are quiet, they are clean, they are polite, they're not always in your face. They're very sensitive to their surroundings, and they try to fit in. They try to do their best to fit in. And people often think that they're going to be crazy lunatics because of their race dogs, and it's just not the case. to transform people's lives is pretty incredible. And, I mean, they're dogs, but they're a little different. And we oftentimes have people who were never intending to get a second dog, or a third dog, or a fourth dog, come back and get more because they are so easy, and because they are so sort of healing. The energy is very quiet, and they I don't know what it is really. They are just, they're kind of special, and I'm apparently not the only person who thinks so. The adoption process for these guys entails an application, a home visit. We're looking for yard safety. We're looking for a secure home, a forever home, and someone who understands, maybe has done a little research on the breed and understands their differences. We're, of course, always around for support, any problems, questions. People are welcome to call. But it is nice to know what you're getting into when you adopt a dog. They're not for everybody, but people are generally very surprised at how easy they are. We find a lot of people are expecting them to be hyper and need huge amounts of exercise in a large yard. And then they come to the meet and greets and they see these slugs laying here, and they wonder if they're sick. They ask us if they're sick often, or what's wrong with them. Why are they all just laying down? Well, they go to the meet and greets, they lay down, they go home, and they're exhausted.